You're listening to Whispers of War.
Hello everyone and welcome to show 22 of Whispers of War. I'm your host Sil, and we are going to start with how was my week in World of Warcraft. Quiet week, if I'm honest. I thought I would do a little bit of war battleground. Well, not really battlegrounds, more like the Arathi and maybe Darkshire if it was up, but it wasn't. So I just did Arathi, and I did it on my Alliance Druid, and I got a little bit lost, which is strange because it's basically the same map, right? As for Horde, it's just in the keep itself. I was like, so what do I need to do? Where do I go? I don't really know, and it doesn't force you to do quests, but they are there, so I'm kind of like being pulled towards that exclamation mark to actually do what they want me to do. So in the end, of course, we won. I can't see how you can really lose, but I got a little bit of an upgrade from my gear. My gear is slowly going up in eye level for the druid, but I have not really tackled anything. I really wanted to do some dungeons on her, but I don't feel like doing it, if I'm honest. And maybe that is just because still I don't have that mesh with a class just yet. And that brings me actually to my next thing. As much as I hate doing it, and this is such a... If you would have asked me like 5 or 6 years ago, I would have said, I love leveling. It's the one thing I always do. I enjoy it. And now I just don't really like it that much. And I'm blaming Warlords for that I have to go through content like that. And even a little bit of Legion. But I've decided to level all my characters on my current server. I think the only class I don't have on there at the moment is a Death Knight. Don't know if it's worth it. If you do play a Death Knight, maybe you can convince me why I should have one on there, but so far I really don't. I have a few extra classes, both Horde and Alliance side. So I might have to delete one, but I'm not quite sure which one. I guess... Well, I don't really know. I'm inching towards Warlock. Maybe that one will be... deleted. I don't know. But yeah, I thought, you know what? If I don't really mesh with my current classes that are 120, so the Druid and the Rogue, then maybe it's just time that I level everything to 120, play all of them a bit at that level just to see which one I really enjoy. Because, it might just be something like class for me that doesn't really keep me entertained. As weird as that is, because I would like it if I could build my own class, and now with a lot of the stuff that I want, people will say you need to go Druid because they have it all, and I just don't feel like the Druid is that for me. I like certain things, but then it's a little bit... How do I explain this without sounding really vague? So what I, for instance, really like in classes is a charge ability. I really like it that Druids could charge when they were bears, and I really like that in warriors. I really enjoy racing from one mob to the next. I like pummeling things in the face more than I do ranged. The self-heal ability is something that is quite nice. And I like something that's fast-paced. I like something that you feel like you're actually doing something quickly, whether that be stabbing or punching or whatever it is, and it doesn't take forever. Now, casters have started to fizzle out a bit for me because of that reason, because your cast time is still quite long, which is fair enough because you do a lot of damage, I would assume, but it's just not really for me anymore, and I just don't enjoy it. So I realized I enjoy classes much more that you actually physically have to do something, like warriors and rogues, and Cat just does not play great for me. I just don't enjoy it. So that one is out of the whole group. And I like the stealth ability. So yeah, I need to build some kind of like, I don't know, paladin, demon hunter, rogue, druid, hybrid, warrior also a little bit in that. And I think I would be happy. So yeah, I think I've set myself up for something really, really difficult. Unless some of you guys go, actually, that's that class, you want to play that? Then let me know. But for now, I think I'll just go to level everything to 120, play it a little bit. I might actually jump into a dungeon or two and decide, you know what, I absolutely hate this. Let's jump to the next one. And hopefully I'll find something. I mean, I have plenty of time to find a class that I enjoy before it needs to be changed again with the new expansion. Because we all know that everything will be changed then yet again. A little bit of an update on that toxic guild situation. So, after I left the Discord server and made that comment about, you know, well, I hope that you guys progress, but this is not the guild for me, bye. I thought, okay, well, I'll be kicked now from the guild, and that's that. So I hadn't logged in for a long time on my rogue, just because I didn't feel like it anyway. And I thought, well, I'll log in now, just to get some dailies done. And I was still in the guild. So that whole thing about them, you know, being all really big balls about the, oh, if you don't come raiding, we'll fucking kick you, blah, blah, blah. That didn't happen. And I didn't really say anything, and I thought, alright, I see. So I don't really want to stay here anyway. And I just G-quit, and that was it. I didn't even log off immediately. I grabbed what I needed to go, and it was about like 20 minutes later, and then I logged off. But no one spoke to me, and I was quite surprised by that, because I would have expected a lot more toxicity. And I've been on my rogue ever since, and no one has really said anything. So yeah, I guess, you know, maybe they're all mouth and or what is it? A lot of bark but no bite. So nah. Still, I don't think there's a need for people to be that horrible, in all fairness. I don't see why you have to threaten your guild members with being there on raid nights. I don't really see that. And for me, it has just confirmed that I really don't want to raid anymore. I'll do LFR, and that will be it. Unless I find a guild that I think, you know what, I really want to raid with them, I'll do that. But it's just not for me anymore. I like to have my evenings off and just do whenever I feel like doing anything. So I might just pug it. I know that sometimes you see pugs pre-made, so who knows? Maybe I'll do that. And that's really it. So yeah, it's been a quiet one this week. Oh, there's one little update. I have parked my my Void Elf warrior in the Goldshire Inn. Just because I love reading people's TRPs. Yesterday there was a flock of sheep in there, which was really interesting. I have no idea how you can get all those sheep in there. But it was funny. People are peeing on the fly. Of course, there are some other, you know, RP events going on, which is fine. I always say, just, you know, live and let live. And if they're happy with that, then go ahead. But I did have someone whisper me and ask if my character could remove their boots so they could see my feet. And I was a bit like, no. No, thank you. So, yeah, I didn't comply to that. But I had a good time just watching people RP. It was funny. I think I like the easy going of Goldshire RP. It's not serious at all. And if I want to jump on a more serious RP character, I just go to one of my trolls or my paladin, who I quite like. And I'm thinking of jumping back on my hunter, because for the alliance side, she's actually quite a lot of fun to RP with. And that's really all. That's been my week. So yeah, foot stuff in Goldshire. That's going to be now haunting you forever. Anyhow, I had a much more interesting conversation with Slide, so I will leave you with the interview, and I will see you on the flip side. And with me today, I am joined all the way from America, so it's another transatlantic call that we're doing. Slide.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. Very late well, I say very late, it's like 9 p.m. for me, but early afternoon for you?
Yep, I just got off work. It's 3 o'clock, so pretty early.
That's not too bad. And, you had the chance to leave very cold Chicago to go to Maui, but you're a good person.
Don't steal. Don't do it.
Don't steal someone's tickets. But that's a little joke that we'll keep to ourselves. So tell the listeners about who you are, what you do, and all that kind of stuff.
All right. Well, I'm Slide Whistle. I actually do a podcast with my boyfriend and very good friend. I'm in Chicago right now. As you've heard, it's snowing here. And I'm a little scared. Yeah.
I think everyone is who's not used to like a lot of snow. It's like, what's going on? So can you tell something about your podcast?
It's a relatively new podcast. We're like 6 episodes in. We're called Do Not Relent, off of the, not even a boss, like a mini boss in Scarlet Halls. We just loved his voice lines where he's just like, keep firing and do not relent. So like we would quote those lines to each other. We're like, let's do a podcast. We can do a podcast. What do we base it off of? How about that random mini boss in Scarlet Halls that we quote all day? So
hey, if it works, it works.
Yeah. So we just do a podcast. It's just general WoW stuff. Just pretty much us just being drunk and goofing around. So just fun stuff.
That often makes for the best podcasts. How have you found the whole podcasting thing?
Challenging because we kind of just jumped into it. Me and Immune, we don't really know how to edit, or we didn't know how to edit. We soon learned. It's fun though. It's a fun creative output that I think we all kind of needed. Just something to pass the time and kind of just come together as, friends.
That's always good. All right. So now I'm very curious. A horde or alliance, and why?
Well, my first character was actually an undead warlock because I was like a dead guy who plays with demons. Like, that's shit that I gotta be playing with. Like, that's my class fantasy. So I was trying to get all my friends to play, and then I got my boyfriend to play with me. And he made a Tauren priest because he wanted to be the classic holy cow. But he stopped playing, and so I was like, well, I'll wait for you. So I'll level a dwarf on the Alliance just to pass the time. Well, he didn't come back for 6 months. And I fell in love with the Alliance. So I'm actually an Alliance. We'll swerve for you there.
No, you know what? I get it. I get it with a lot of people. Have you played any of the BFA storylines on the Horde side, or pure Alliance now?
Pure Alliance, I've kept up with what's happening on the Horde side. There's so much to do that I haven't been able to level a Horde alt yet. Yet I'm leveling like 2 Alliance alts, so.
Nice excuse.
Yeah.
No, I understand that. You see that a lot, in all fairness. So how did you get into World of Warcraft? How did the love for this franchise start?
So I think I'm actually probably a pretty rare anomaly. I started super late in WoW. And by super late, I mean like the end of Draenor is when I started. It actually started with Hearthstone. I got a tablet for Christmas and I downloaded the top app, which was Hearthstone. I'm like, what is this card game? Who are all these characters? Like, what is all this? And I just like quickly absorbed like whatever I could. I was like, well, I gotta play the game. Like, I gotta play the World of Warcraft. So I just started playing it in like, I would say probably early 2014. And
wow.
It's just like people hate Draenor because of how long it took. But for me, it was perfect because I was able to level a character all the way to max. I actually was able to raid. I got AOTC and I was like, this is the best thing ever. Like, this is an amazing expansion. But because I caught like the last 2 months of it.
That's probably the best time to have jumped into it, in all fairness, because, with especially with Warlords, I think because there was such a long dry spell that a lot of people were like, oh, it's too boring now. But if you came in at the final 2 months, that's perfect.
There's so much content. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I absorbed just so much information about this game. It's so great. I love it.
Have you now jumped into, because of that, into other things to know more about the lore, or?
Oh yeah, I've read quite a bit of the books. I've read Arthas. I've read Before the Storm. I've read all the Chronicles, War Crimes. I'm reading Lord of the Clans right now, and just like I love the lore, so I just try to. It was kind of hard before Chronicle because it's all over the place, and I'm trying to figure out like who's current, like who's the war chief, like so kind of who's the war chief. There's a lot to figure out how the succession went and stuff. But
yeah, I bet. Because for you, I mean, did you use your boost? Did you get? Yeah, you must have gotten a boost with that immediately. Did you make use of that immediately, or?
No, not immediately. I was like, I don't know what any of these classes are. Like, I don't know what to boost. So I just leveled my paladin from 1 to 110 or 1 to 190. No, wait, was it 90? 100? There's so many numbers.
Oh God, I can't remember.
I think it was 100.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I did that with my paladin, and then I boosted a mage because, like, well, I already have my main; it's a paladin. So yeah, I did boost the mage at the end of Warlords.
All right, well, that's not too bad, at least But I can imagine for someone just starting out with all the different timelines, because you technically skip vanilla completely, and then you go like Kata, Burning Crusade. And then, Wrath, and all of a sudden it's Kata, and like, that must have been really confusing. Yeah,
it was interesting. I didn't really understand what, like, I kind of knew that, like, Northrend is a different continent, but I guess I didn't really attach the idea that it was to an expansion at that time. So I was just like, oh, this is just another zone in some other area, like, and then, like, well, one of my good friends he used to be a mythic raider who was raiding during Draenor, and he got very upset when he learned I was playing because he could have, like, he said, oh, there's so much to help you with. Like, I could have told you this, and that. And I was like, well, I don't know. He didn't tell me you were playing. I didn't know you played this game for your entire life. But he was Horde, so he mostly was mad that I chose Alliance.
But I'm assuming that it must have grabbed you then for you to keep playing now.
Yeah, it definitely did. And I definitely sorted it out pretty quickly because I wanted to learn what everything was and how this game is still around for so long by the time I got to it. Like,
how did you find the threshold for because this always is something that really interests me. And I think last week I read out posts about people who, basically almost got bullied when they were just starting out because people were like, you don't know what you're doing. Did you feel overwhelmed with everything that is out there, like the add-ons or anything you could get for the game?
I didn't use any add-ons for a while because I didn't think I needed any. So I just kind of ran pure. The dungeons, I actually had really helpful people. Like, people were really helpful. They helped me figure out where I was going. There's like so many dungeons where it's twisty and turny, and I fell off. Like, I don't know where I am right now in Serpent Shrine Cavern. Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
But people were actually like, "Oh no, go this way," and like they asked if I was new, and they were like helping me out. So like I actually got pretty lucky. Like I actually made people who I made friends who added me like on VNet, and we just like played a lot. And then when my friends came back to play, then it got even easier because then I had a crew who also didn't know what they were doing. So
that's so nice. It's so nice to actually hear from people who start now that you actually do have some helpful people out there.
Yeah. You'd think there's probably a lot of horror stories out there of people being really mean.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I've heard many. But that's really good. Well, I'm happy that, it all was well. Otherwise, we wouldn't have you in the community, of course. So we are going to talk about something interesting, with the whole Horde versus Alliance thing. And that was faction war. Now, the opinions are very, very divided about it. So where do you start? Let's start with the whole, emphasis on the faction war in this expansion. Because we've had it in the past. I think with Vanilla, there was some, faction war, even though, in all fairness, Vanilla is like a blur to me. I don't really even know what I was doing. But it seems like it's really being pushed in this expansion. What are your feelings about it?
I like it. But granted, as we all know, I started in Warlords. But I feel like it hasn't really been at this level before. Like, it's never been like this, like, head buddy. Like, they got close in Mop, but like that was kind of still coming together to defeat a greater purpose. I like it. Like, the dichotomy between the two is very interesting. There's strife in between the own factions against each other, against the factions. There's a lot to unpack, and I know people are tired of it because it's been the main theme since Warcraft, right?
Yeah.
So people are kind of like tired of it and think it's, way past due, which, I think that the story eventually does have to come to an end, but for right now, I think it's being done really well.
Okay. Is there anything that you think they could have done a little bit better when it came to the whole storyline with the faction war? We've only seen like a little bit of the story that they probably have planned for us, but so far, how are you finding it in that sense? Do you feel like, what are they doing with Sylvanas, for instance, or?
The Sylvanas part is very iffy still. I don't think they're going to go full Garrosh with her, and they shouldn't. And I keep saying to myself, they're not going to do it. But then each time she does something else, I'm like, they're not going to repeat the same mistakes, right? And I ask myself this every single time because her character has kind of gone into like overdrive with like her motives. And I'm hoping that it just kind of involves her splitting off into like her own kind of thing, maybe stepping down as war chief and then not having to kill another Horde raid boss, because that would not sit well with them. But I think how they did Teldrassil was really well done. Like, it sucked for the Alliance, but the way they did it was just like really emotionally driven. It was good. Like, I actually liked that part.
So for you, it was a good motivator of, this is why we are at war as factions.
Yeah, I really liked that as a motivator.
Okay. So that's the storyline. Like, we're not there yet, so it could still change. But the faction war seems to be like the main thing. Do you play with war mode on or off?
I always have it on. I turned it off for like maybe a week when things got really bad before they rolled out some of the changes, but it's basically always on now.
When you say it was really bad, what, in your opinion, was really bad?
So there was a time before I think they fixed the sharding with it, but it made it so when I was going out to like Storm Song and trying to do like the Turtles quests, the Horde had a penchant for really stocking up the entire shoreline with Horde, and they would just take over that entire area, and like it was unbeatable. Like, you'd have to summon like 2 full Alliance raids. It was like 40-1. Like, it was crazy. Wow. And it was always the same area every single day. They would just, like, you couldn't do the quests out there. And it was just like, well, what am I supposed to do? So I turned it off. But they rolled out the changes like a week later, and it was such a noticeable difference. Like, there was so much less Horde, and you could tell because everyone knew to avoid that area.
So, were you on a PvP server before?
I actually wasn't. I'm on Proudmoore, which is a PvP server.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm not going to do PvP. I don't want to get ganked. And I hated the idea of PvP. Like, I did not want to do it. But when they introduced war mode, I was like, this is a good idea because if I get mad, I can just turn it off, and that's all that I want. Is the ability to be able to turn it off. So I just, day one, I went in with it, and I've loved it ever since.
So what made you, switch it on then?
I think it was knowing that I could turn it off if I really needed to. I think that part just really kind of helped. Just kind of drove me to pick fights.
Can you understand? Because, I mean, for me, I used to play on a PvP server, and then I switched to RP because I was just sick and tired of being ganked. And especially when later on you got world quests, I've heard my friends say that it was absolute like nightmares at times to do your world quests. But can you understand that there was a upheaval about it in the PvP community, in the sense of, why am I on a PvP server if people can just turn their war mode on and off.
Yeah. They felt like they basically were being pushed out, I feel like, and that things were going to be like lessened for them. And when I read their side of it, I was like, that kind of makes sense. Like, they're kind of right. But I guess, but now, like, it feels like everyone is playing with it whenever I have it on. Like, it feels like it's very populated. So it's a happy surprise, I think.
Now, I'm really, because I don't really know how it works with the ratio. So I know that when you do war mode, you get like sometimes an extra bonus. I think it is to leveling, isn't it? To your leveling XP. Mm-hmm. Is it? So on my server, Argent Dawn, when you play Alliance, you get 30% extra with war mode on. I have not checked what that is on the on the Horde side, but how is that on your server? Is that the same or is it different?
So how it works is Blizzard will take each reset. They take the number of Alliance and Horde characters in war mode altogether. They actually don't count servers in it at all. And so then by that number of every single member in Alliance and Horde with War mode on, then it calculates the ratio of who gets what boost. So if you're Alliance in war mode, I think we're basically always going to get a 30% boost.
Horde players are just, often in war mode and just, yeah.
Yeah, they don't get it. And I don't think they ever will. I think that a lot of Alliance that would have been a fan of war mode were turned off on how bad the balance was before they fixed it. And they probably won't ever turn it back on, which is kind of sad because I would say it actually feels really even right now. It feels really good as an Alliance player, at least. I don't know how it is for the Horde shards and how they're dealing with it.
I can only say that from my experience, I think it's quite balanced. I think for the amount of times you get ganked as an Alliance, you'd almost get ganked just as much as a Horde character while leveling. Mm-hmm. Especially now that we have the, are they called incursions?
Oh, okay, I have been through this. I've called them like 8 different things. And apparently, I think they're called assaults.
Assaults, okay.
Name, I believe. Because I called them incursions for so long. I'm like, wait, they're called assaults?
Yeah, I'm sure I heard that word somewhere, and I'm like, okay, I need to somehow remember that word, and it's not an invasion or... How do you feel about those, that they've implemented that? Because it's, again, extra war, isn't it?
I love assaults so much. I always have to do them. And like the rewards are actually really good. And especially when you add that 30% bonus to the rewards, better. I feel like assaults are where the PvP is really balanced. I feel like whenever I go out to an assault, the number of Alliance and Horde doing the quests always seems to be even. And like you do this thing where you walk by somebody who's a Horde and you make eye contact and like, am I going to hit you? Are you going to hit me? Like we're just trying to do our questing. And it feels really cool. And they're so well done.
Does it give you a little bit of like extra, like, okay, well, I think he's doing this now, so I can quickly kill this mob, but I'm still keeping my eye on him just in case he starts to target me.
Yeah, it's basically like being in the Wild West of like a cowboy shoot off. Like you're both like got your hands on your trigger, you're ready to fire, but you don't want to fire first. And then of course a Horde comes zooming in and attacks you, and then just everyone starts brawling. And it feels so cool.
I think it does give that extra bit of epicness, doesn't it? On when you're just even with questing. Just the fact that someone could jump you and you have to all of a sudden utilize different skills to...
Yeah, it adds a sense of danger. And I haven't had the problem where I get ganked by 15 Horde anymore. Like, it's usually like just 2 people. And they see me and I'm like, okay, well, 2v1, we can kill them. And then I run away.
I think it works. Now, the emphasis of war and everything now. So we've had Arafi as a warfront, and now we're getting Darkshire. We're probably getting... They are hinting that we're getting more. How do you feel about the warfronts? When Arafi first came out, what was your feel about it? Because if you started as Alliance, did you get the warfront first? I can't really remember.
I think you guys had the... I think Horde had the warfront first, and we had to wait.
You had to do the whole, here is your... you have to do these quests and then get resources and then... Yeah,
we had to turn it in. and wait for it.
How did you find the way of, how Arathi was introduced to everyone?
At the beginning, I think they actually did a pretty poor job introducing it. It started with the Horde got it first, and that was fine. But then there were I think when it first started, the Horde was able to go into there with a very low eye level, and it was great for leveling your alts. And so we got excited for it. Then they fixed that right before we got it. So the Horde got a little leveling boost. And we're like, okay, well, that kind of sucks. And then it just felt kind of flat when there was only one warfront. You did it, and then you're just like, okay, and so now what do I do? That's all. That's kind of all it is.
Okay. How did you feel did you feel as an Alliance player, good that now you could take Darkshore or could fight? I'm not going to say you're getting Darkshore back because, it is a warfront, so I can't really see any winners there every week. But how do you feel about the whole fact that we then got Darkshore?
Wait, what was the question?
How do you feel about the fact that you got Darkshore as well as
okay. Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. It made it feel, because Arathi wasn't even kind of related to anything that really happened before. It was just kind of near the Undercity. But with Darkshore, you got to actually go back, and the way that the world changed was so interesting, and how you're with the ancients, and there was just it felt very lore centric to what was relevant. And I like that a lot. And then with the two warfronts, it made the whole system feel so much better. It was cool. It was a little sad that we lost that the Horde raised those two night elves. I can't remember their names.
Yeah, the Warden and
Delrin, yeah. But it was cool, and it was a little disappointing that they keep kind of making the Alliance look kind of dumb. I feel like there are a lot of moments when we have had the advantage, and then they kind of have them below the advantage with something silly. And that part's getting a little irritating. We always have the bad guy. We always have the Horde in our clutches, and just as we were about to squeeze them, they either get away from us or we trip and fall in our faces.
I think that's the same on Horde side, that you're all of a sudden it's escaped the clutches again. It's one of those things. If you would be in design or have to predict the future, where do you think that we would get more warfronts? What do you think would be a good one to have?
They have to have a Baron's warfront. That's where the fighting is supposed to be. That's where Horde and Alliance were duking it out.
Can I suggest the Crossroads?
Yeah, that'd be so cool.
That would be interesting.
And Alliance doesn't really have a reason to go there now, so it's cool to give the other faction a reason to go to zone that they wouldn't normally be at.
Yeah, because I think, with Arathi, it was always a bit of it's a questing area, but it's a bit out of the way. I can't really remember, most of the time I was oh, no, I'm not going to the whole Dwarven area. That's far too far away. Why would I? So, yeah, that actually would be nice, I think, to have it as a reason to revisit some of those zones that a lot of people don't look at anymore.
Cool.
If you could have a hand in any of the story for faction, what would you like to see happen? If you have a wish for that.
I want to see more Anduin. I feel like from what I've seen of Anduin, he appeared on the Borealis boat to say, "Good job, everybody, you did it." And then he was gone for 2 months. And then we see him again, and he is leading the... What was he doing?
I think he said he had to help the Night Elves.
Yeah, he did help the Night Elves. And then Tyrande was like, "Okay, I'm going to do it without you." And then Gen was just kind of like, "I'm going to help too." And then Anduin he hasn't really done anything. And it's weird to have this faction war be the big thing of the expansion. And yet you don't really see Sylvanas and Anduin butting heads except for the very beginning of the expansion. So I want more action.
Yeah, because I think the last bit that you actually see them together is that whole throne room scene.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when she screams and...
Yeah, exactly. That is actually a very good point. That is a good point. So hopefully we'll get to see more of that. What do you think with it's all about war. And I know I'm throwing this question because I did not put that anywhere, but now that I have you on it, I'm just wondering with the Warbringers cinematics that we got. And it's a little bit of fairy crafting because, it's 3 females who play quite a big role in the lore. With Sylvanas, you have Jaina, and then you get Ashara. Do you think that was a clever way of leading it into war and calling them Warbringers?
Yeah, I think for sure it was, because you have 3 of the biggest Warbringers you could put together. Like, Jaina wants revenge for everything that's happened to her. She's had her spirit and heart broken by the Horde so many times. Sylvanas, who is always ready for war at any given moment. And Ashara, who I'm so excited to finally see do something. Like, it's going to be so exciting when she hopefully beats us in an upcoming raid and just like rains Naga hell from the heavens.
That would be interesting. It would be nice if we sometimes get like a big bad that you can't really defeat. And I'm not talking about kill fast like 2.0 or anything like that. No. Not like everything is just merely a setback, just other things.
Like, what if Ashara like kills us? Like we just die, and then it's like, now what?
That would be really interesting. Then we can have Warcraft 2.0.
Give it a rebuild.
We have to rebuild everything. Okay, if you have to convince anyone about the whole war mode, faction war, everything that's going on, what would be the thing that you would say, okay, you have to try this out because...
you need to kill the other faction. It's very satisfying to pop somebody. Let me tell you, I play a fire mage in PvP, and the thrill you get when you just eliminate somebody in like 4 button presses feels so cool.
Everyone will roll fire mage.
It's so good in PvP. It's perfect. Just pop your enemies.
Did you think that it should be a because a lot of people say, oh, I hate being ganked, but that really is not a big thing, you think?
I would say it's really not. I would say that you get ganked a lot less than you think. Like, a lot of the times you know it's coming, so it's like you can prepare yourself. You can plan an escape route really easily, and then people are always so apt to help you in war mode. If you use like general chat, or if you just do like /yell, people will come and help you. Like, I've gotten so many people to like help storm an area to clear out the horde, or just like to defend an area. People are in war mode are super apt to just communicate with each other, which is weird because it doesn't really happen anywhere else in the game right now.
That's really interesting for something that, what so many people perceive as toxic, PvP, and then actually that is the one feature that people will immediately jump on board to help someone from the same faction out.
Yeah, it's pretty cool when you're in a fight with somebody and then like you see like a second horde come up and you're like, oh great, now I'm gonna die, and then like a paladin comes zooming in to help you out, and then you just like, after every like interaction with this, I say thanks, and then we start talking about the horde or killing horde or war mode, and we just like we'll like run together for a little bit to make sure that we each get out okay, and we can split up after we're safe. It's really interesting. That
sounds really. I think everyone needs to re-roll to Proudmoore. In all awareness.
Maybe that's it.
That could be it. That could be it. Okay, cool. Do you have anything that you want to add to the whole faction war topic?
I think we just need to have the war campaigns do some more intertwining. I feel like there's a lot of stuff happening that the Horde are doing that I didn't even know about. Like, I was reading their war campaign and I'm like, what? They did this? They did that? How did no one tell us about this? Like, we should be informed that like there's a major moves being made, which I'm sure goes likewise for the Horde. They probably don't know half the things that we've done in the war campaign.
Yeah, I'll be honest, because of course I've played through all the Horde stuff on on the war campaign.
Mm-hmm.
And I was a bit like, oh, I wonder if Alliance will ever hear about, you know, a certain person that we got hold of.
I just heard about 2 of those people, and I was like, what? This is huge.
Yeah, exactly. So for me, I don't really know what's been going on Alliance. I mean, my friends are always very happy to spoil it for me. Just tell me, oh, this is what's going on. Okay. So yeah, I was really surprised about that. But you reckon that might have to do a little bit with that they don't want the surprise, quote unquote, to be spoiled.
Yeah,
action war that's going on, or
yeah, that's probably it. Just like a lot of it, I think a lot of it would be either cool or like kind of scary to hear from the Horde side. Like, this isn't really a spoiler because it was the first iteration of the war campaign, but you guys almost work with the Sand Lane. Like, the Sand Lane were super close to being in the Horde.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? Like, first of all, who's okay with this? Like, who wants the Sand Lane on their team?
I know, it's bizarre how all of a sudden with war you just throw all your beliefs and morals out. Yeah, no.
I don't think so.
That's yeah. I'm not going to lie. There are some weird things in there that I have to raise my eyebrows out a little bit, just a little bit. How did you feel about the war campaign getting chopped up, and it's almost like a next time on, and you have to wait?
I mean, I get it. It's fine. I wish we got a little more, but they want to spread it out. They want to give us the feed drip. That way we have to keep coming back and figuring out what's happening.
Do you feel like the title of war campaign is apt for them?
I do feel like it's apt. I think that when we do get pieces, what we have gotten is actually really cool. Like, I've really enjoyed the campaign from the Alliance side. There's a lot of cool moments. I wish it was more voice acted, but I do think that the chunks that we've gotten have been pretty okay sizable chunks of war campaign.
Okay, good. Anything else that you would like to add to the main topic?
I don't think so. I guess turn on war mode, Alliance, and let's kill some people.
That's a very good quote. So let's going back to the general, expansion BFA. What are you most impressed with so far?
The art and sound team knocked it out of the park.
Yeah.
With this expansion. Like, when I first entered Borealis, because I didn't look anything up beforehand, I tried to avoid a lot of stuff. And Borealis was just so cool. Like, it's such a big city. The music is amazing. And then I got to the Zarlord. I was like, what's going on over here? What is this? It's beautiful.
Yeah. I can't but agree with you, because it's really, really, really true. Do you play with the music on?
Oh, yeah. It's always on.
So that must have, it does add that little bit of epicness, doesn't it, when you enter a zone?
Yeah, it just, because like it's so unique for each zone, and it just works really well. Like, I don't think their art and sound team will ever drop the ball. Like, they're impressive.
I hope you're absolutely right with that. What are you least impressed with so far?
They need to budge on their notion of making you reforge Azerite gear for a cost. And I know Azerite gear is top of everyone's list. I don't mind Azerite gear that much. The reforging cost sucks. Like, because I want to learn other specs. I want to learn how to play. Like, I'm a mage right now, and I want to play all 3 specs. And having Azerite gear for all 3 classes is just, that's a lot of gear to have. So I just have to keep paying like respecking fees, and if it's too high, I'll just sit in one spec before I switch. I don't really understand why they have that restriction on still, but I guess that's probably the one that I want removed.
That's actually a really good point, because back in the day in vanilla, you had to pay for your respecs over and over again when you can only play one spec, and you couldn't really switch that quickly with your talent trees. And I think for raiders at a certain point, especially healers, it was just painful because you couldn't farm anything.
Right.
Because it was either costs of respecking, or it was, I that's almost a little bit like backwards doing it that way again.
Well, and then now, because not only that, but now because there's raiding, there's PvP, there's Mythic Plus, there's World PvP, like different talents for everything that I do. and I want to have different Azerite for everything that I do some of the time, not all the times, but because I've gotten into rated PvP and then I have Azerite gear for that, and it's a lot of specking or a lot of switching my gear.
Yeah, and I imagine that is going to cost you a lot of gold.
Yep.
That's it. Yeah, that's hopefully something that they will address. Do you have? Oh, sorry. Go on.
No, you're fine. No, you go.
Do you have any good tips for anyone who is, starting with BFA or maybe has been playing it and you're like, actually, maybe this is something you should look into or do or try or?
Do island expeditions. I know you've heard a lot about how bad they are, but they feel super good after that they made the changes to the island rotation and they stopped the Azerite madness from appearing. It's actually really cool now. Like I enjoyed it so much.
Do you do them with pugs or do you do them with the guild or?
I do them with pugs when I'm here earlier. I do them with my podcasting people when we are like after the pod. We'll just like do some islands every now and then. Like they're fun. The rewards are cool. Like they've really upped the rewards that you get now, and they've added some crazy ones.
I hear they're very good for experience as well.
Oh yeah, if you're trying to level in all, definitely swap between islands and battlegrounds. Battlegrounds are actually really good for leveling. I think better than the islands.
Oh really?
Yeah, if you get a win, you get almost like 3/4 of a level. And if you don't get a win, you still get like for every honor you get, it's compared to experience. So just kill everybody in the battleground and you get good experience.
That's the general thing. Just kill everyone. Just kill everyone.
Just don't die and kill everybody. You got it. You're fine. You're level quick.
Okay. So, I want to know, also a bit as a podcaster for you, what has the Warcraft community meant to you? You don't have to just talk about the podcasting bit, but, it could be things like your guildies or people you've played with, or, Twitter is quite big with the Warcraft community, but in general, what has it meant to you?
It's meant a lot to me. It's been an amazing community. I've actually gone to 2 BlizzCons, and the people there that you meet at BlizzCon are just the coolest people. Like everyone is so nice. We talk about like their spec and their race, and you have like fake Horde Alliance fights. It's just everyone who plays this game seems to have such a deep love for it, and it shows in person like crazy when people are talking about it, like starry-eyed, and they just can't stop going.
Is it nice to see that passion that you would share with other people?
Yeah, I haven't really played a game that has had people as passionate about it before, like this passionate about it. My guild's super cool. Like everyone in that guild is so much fun. It's just like every aspect of the community is awesome, except for the rated BG community. Sometimes they can be a little toxic, but other than that, it's pretty good.
I think, in all fairness, every community, whether it be gamers or something else, I think there's always a form of toxicity. I don't think you can really stop that. I mean, just to give a really stupid example, there are certain Facebook groups I've joined and they have nothing to do with gaming. It could be really something boring, and you will still have people who try to just really try to annoy you and just be asses. So I think if it's just the rated battleground groups, it's not too bad.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
That's pretty good. Final one. What is your whisper? And for those the whispers is always something like, it could be fairy crafting, it could be a wish, it could be a rumor thing that you'd like to spread. Really just anything you want to share.
I want Tinkers as a class so bad.
Aftalius and an Avatar, really.
Oh my god. And that video, I was like, yes, like yes to everything, yes to all of this. Because I main a no mage, so I'm like, give me anything. Like I would swap to a Tinker so quickly as my new main. Like the idea is just because so I'm a no mage with engineering, and I just I love feeling that class fantasy is like the best. Like I have all these weird little gizmos and gadgets. I'm using my gliders, but I'm also a mage with weird magical powers. But if I can make that into a tinker who has like laser beams and bombs and chicken cannons, like, oh my god, I would lose my mind if they announced Tinker when they announced Tinkers.
That's really good. Do you really feel like it's time for a new class?
I do. And I didn't think about Taliesin's video where he showed like which expansion has had one and which one hasn't. And I'm like, it's confirmed for me. It's got to be happening in the next one. We need it.
Well, it seems like they are setting us up for something like that. So that would be really, really cool.
Please.
Fingers crossed. Okay. So Slide, where can people find you and your podcast and everything so they can check you out?
You can find me on Twitter at Tenta2Cool, like the Pokemon, but too cool. You can find the podcast's Twitter at Do Not Relent Pod at pod on Twitter. And you can email us at DoNotRelentPod@gmail.com. And you can find our Twitter at DoNotRelentPod. There we go.
Perfect. Thank you. And now we'll put that on the show notes because I'm going to, like with all the guests, I always ask, can you type it for me so I can't fuck it up? So
I always try to say the Gmail when I'm saying the Twitter. So I go at, and then I'm like, what? Wait a minute. I already said the handle.
in all fairness, every time I do the end of my show, I'm like, and what is my thing again? And then I just have to. What's it called? Where is it? Okay, yeah, this is because you don't really, as you know, for yourself, you don't really use that. So
right, yeah, I'm like, how do I get there?
I just type. That's it. No, perfectly understandable. But thank you so much for being on the show.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.
So that was a great interview, and I hope that you guys enjoyed it. Now, of course, I asked the question about war mode, the battle story that's going on, the whole faction war that's happening. And I wanted to know the opinion of all of you. And this is what you replied to me. And it's quite varied. I think it's quite interesting to see how much variation there is. So Lady Cherry said, meh. And actually some people agreed with that. So you're not the only one who is not really impressed by the whole faction war part. And Fabry actually said, when I saw the cinematic trailer and realized the expansion would focus on the faction war, I almost dropped the game entirely. And Destro Bell from Pawncast said, war mode is aces. So there is such a big difference in people who enjoy war mode on or off. The story with the whole faction war, some people really love it, other people really hate it. So that's really interesting. Spanky Hunter said, I love it, war mode all the way. The more dirty alliance I kill, the better. Gets rough at times, but hey, it's definitely put the war in Warcraft. Anything for my queen, long live Sylvanas. Yeah, I have to agree, it did put war into Warcraft. And I'm still of the understanding that, it is Warcraft. Ginge C said, I just turned on war mode for the first time last night and I had a blast kicking some horde ass with a group of friends and guildies. Wizard Life Studio, have it off. I am a Windwalker monk. We have no chance. Every time I see the enemy, it's only me versus 15. I would like Bliss to ditch all the world quests and just use the war campaigns instead. I don't need more to do. Warfronts are so boring. Like the story lore, it keeps me playing. Okay, that's a shame that the warfronts are boring to you. I do feel like, it is a set-up thing of to do, and it's just a little bit of a race to get your resources, get everything up, and just finish off the boss. So I kind of get where you're coming from. It's a shame that you have to go against 15. That's not good. Cadian said, I always thought the faction war was uninteresting in previous expansions. Even in Pandaria, I really only wanted to focus on the big bad, some random evil. This expansion, I have actually gotten an interest in the conflict. War mode on at all times, hoping it will evolve and not turn into being the background story, yet again like all other expansions. Everyone is waiting for the old gods to start messing about. I want a resolution conclusion to the faction war. At least finishing the war and not putting it on hold. That could be really interesting. I am wondering though if we will actually get a conclusion this expansion. It wouldn't surprise me if Blizzard would prolong this until the next expansion, and this will just focus on the big bad that we might get, and then it will go and continue in the next expansion. So I don't know. I don't know if you will get your wish. Wolfra, the Banished One, said, I like the story, but I hate PvP, so I keep war mode turned off. Elisabella said, I play with it off because my PvP isn't strong to stay alive long enough. Fair enough. That's fair enough. But you never know, there might be some PvPers or non-PvPers out there who decide to turn war mode on just to try it out. So, there might be a lot of people who are not that great at PvP and just try it. Who aggroed that said, to be honest, after Legion, BFA is such a letdown. Had they done the faction war right after Mists, I might have enjoyed it more, especially after the neutral part for the Pandaren. I'm actually not interested in the war story as much as I am the character development that came from it. That's an interesting one, because we did get a lot of, character development due to this conflict now between the two factions. It's really interesting to see where the characters, how they've changed, and how their stories have grown. So it's going to be an interesting one. I think putting it back to the conflict side of things has put the tension up a little bit between Alliance and Horde. Also between Alliance and Horde players, like I said last week, apparently so. But I feel personally, this is my opinion, I'm okay with the faction war. I've always said that I was happy that they were going back to the whole war thing and not all just hold hands and be happy and fight something together. We'll probably have to do that again anyway. But this makes it a little bit more, it has meaning now that you are on a side again. And I am looking forward to what's happening. I do feel like they are adding plenty of things in there to activate that war feeling, the warfronts, war mode, the war campaign, all those things. There's a lot of emphasis on the faction versus faction thing. And that's good for what I feel about it. Again, my opinion. But I understand that some people really hate the PvP aspect from it. And there is a bigger chance also that your characters get killed off. Your main NPCs that you really love. So we will have to see where this all goes. But, maybe do as Slide said and just try war modes. Because you can always turn it off again if it's not for you. But maybe it will open up a world that you really enjoy. So that's my opinion. Now, I am going to leave you with this. Let me know if you've turned on your war mode or if you're like, yeah, I turned it on and I immediately turned it off when I got ganked by 15 players. And hopefully I will hear from all of you next week. Now, if you want to contact me, you can do that on Twitter at whispers_of_war. You can also email me, whispersofwarpodcast@gmail.com. The show you can find on whispersofwar.podbean.com. And I wish you lots of fun in Azeroth with or without war mode on. And hopefully I will see you all next week. Bye bye.